Amy Rose is a character that I've had a lot of conflicting feelings about. I really, really, really love how she was written in some of the older stories, but as the days and years have gone on and as more Sonic media has been released, I fear that she's become very boring. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I want to talk about Amy Rose and her fall from grace, so to speak. It's more of like a subtle, sad shrinking of any sort of personality that she's had into a confusing mess of some sort of play-it-safe female character. So, in the beginning of Amy's overall character, she's always been a very lovable little gal, very excited and very, very, very infatuated with Sonic. Her first appearance was in Sonic CD, which is also Metal Sonic's first appearance as well, which is why you might see them together a lot in promotional or fan art. It's kind of like a cute little callback to that game, and it's also a cute reason why a lot of people ship them, because they were introduced at the same time, and so their birthday is on the same day. Very cute. Amy has always been both super girly and also super aggressive. She fights hard and she loves hard, and that's always been something really, really charming to me. How I was introduced to Amy Rose as a character was through the Sonic X anime, as well as probably some comics and maybe Sonic Adventure, but throughout all that different media that I was consuming, Amy's character stayed pretty consistent. She was a very lovable, girly girl, wearing pink and enjoying cute clothes, and she really, really loved Sonic. But she also had quite the temperament, and when she didn't get her way, she would pull out her giant, comically oversized hammer and start smashing things with it. But she's also incredibly kind-hearted. In Sonic Adventure 2, she's the only person who's able to finally get through to Shadow after his misguided attempts on enacting revenge over Maria. And part of this reason is because her kind and sweet nature reminds him so much of Maria. Amy is aggressive, but she's also incredibly kind. And as the years went on, I fear that this aggressive nature had been stripped away just a little bit. I feel like her cutesy girl next door horrifyingly strong, emotional girl kind of character was devolved slowly into almost like a nagging housewife stereotype. Specifically in the Sonic Boom cartoon and games, I feel like she was melded out a much more to being less over the top in a girly, supportive cheerleader way, and more over the top when it comes to other stereotypical girly things, such as emotional mediation. It definitely felt like an older Amy. That's how I at least saw it. It felt like she had grown up from this girly schoolgirl crush kind of thing into more of like a nagging mom. I don't know. It was very bizarre. And as the games and stories went on, I fear that Amy has gotten even more simplistic, and she doesn't really even feel like a character anymore, at least to me. When I was watching Sonic Prime, I really, really enjoyed all of the different characterization, especially from Shadow. It felt like some really fresh characterization from him, as in the past 10 years or so, we've seen this decline with Shadow specifically, where he goes from being a closed-off introvert, putting on a front of not caring about anything in order to preserve himself, into this, like, annoying edgelord character who, like, hates friendship for some reason. It feels like they I don't know. It felt like they were trying way too hard to make him like schoolyard bully instead of realizing what actually makes Shadow tick. I know this is an Amy video, but I promise that this weird devolution of Shadow's character connects to Amy's character in some way, because Sonic Team was shaking up how they were writing their characters. This is important to me because a character who has received such static characterization, very different from his original introduction, was finally being changed into something closer to what fans and the original Sonic Team had seemingly grew to love. And so with this almost overhaul of characterization, I expected the same to be done with Amy. Do something with her. But they didn't. They didn't do anything with Amy. I couldn't even feel like she was nagging or had any sort of flaw. The only thing that made me any sort of interested in anything to do with her was, I don't know, Rusty Rose maybe? But it didn't even feel like Amy. It just felt like a different character, some random girl character. And I think that's my main problem with Amy's characterization throughout the years, and what it has turned into now. I feel like the Sonic team and the Sonic writers are too scared to make Amy annoying, right? I feel like they're too scared that they're giving off a bad stereotype with women. But I disagree wholeheartedly. In order to make a female character interesting, in my opinion, is to give them those flaws. Women in real life aren't perfect little angels, and insinuating that is another form of misogyny. It's just a more secretive, backhanded one. Whether anyone wants to admit it or not, there are girls like Amy, okay? There are girls who love a little too much, who get a little angry. And is it so wrong to represent those girls? Amy's pink and bubbly and has a giant hammer that she whacks Sonic with when he doesn't reciprocate her feelings. It's so fun and interesting, and having a character that's that fun helps them bounce off of the other characters. It's especially frustrating when all the other Sonic characters have really strong personalities. People complain about Sonic Prime's characterization of Sonic himself, which I think is fair. I feel like there's a lot of Sonic that people don't really understand, and he's kind of devolved too into this kind of bubbly protagonist, when he's really just like a guy who loves the planet and wants to do everything he can to protect it. He's positive, but he's not like overly bubbly in it. He's kind of more just like doing his own thing and loves his friends and good food. He's simple in that way, but it's strong, you know? And so when Sonic Prime made him kind of this stereotypical cartoon protagonist who, just loves his friends, and come on, Shadow, oh, you really don't want to be friends with me? People were a little confused and weirded out. But even Sonic has some things going with him. He's loud and annoying and ignores his friends sometimes, in Sonic Prime specifically. He can be selfish and unrealistic and idealistic. And it's interesting to watch him grow throughout the series, at least in my opinion. He might not be very familiar to the Sonic that we've grown to love, but he's still an interesting character to watch anyways. With Amy, I didn't feel any of that at all. I felt like I was watching like a pink cardboard box walk around, and I feel like this is super prominent with the fact that they gave her like a bunch of different clones and just had those clones interact, because you could tell they were like sweating in the writing room, being like, what do we do with Amy? Are we allowed to even make her annoying anymore? What's going on? Let's make her a robot. I know that's very speculative on my part, and maybe that's not the best way to look at this, but I feel like their main goal was to make a strong female character. They don't want Amy to not seem strong. But in my opinion, a strong female character is a realistic female character. They don't have to be physically strong or headstrong or super serious. They just need to be like a person. I think the strongest female characters are the ones that feel like real people. They have their own flaws and insecurities and quirks and things that make them kind of weird. Even other female characters in the Sonic franchise have some of this, Rouge being a more prominent one, which I also feel like had been kind of done dirty by Sonic Prime, but at least she was kind of cool at the beginning. Rouge is a thief. She's not a traditionally good guy or girl. She's a thief, she's flirty, she's seductive. She's kind of like the femme fatale of the Sonic franchise, which is like so funny for a kid's game, but I think it works, you know? I think it's fun to watch her flirt with Knuckles and see him get all flustered and angry. I think it's fun to see her help out the heroes just for her to turn it on his head. She's smart, and I think that's what makes her so competent and amazing to watch. She's not just a dumb, ditzy girl with boobs. She's smart and calculating and cunning, but also can get thrown off her game when she receives affection back, which I think is so interesting. And that's kind of what I'm missing from Amy. I wouldn't mind if they made Amy bubbly and kind of annoying again. Heck, I wouldn't even mind if they made her a little younger than everyone. Kind of like a Tails type character who is kind of babbling and annoying and has this one-sided crush on Sonic, and he's kind of like, okay. I really wouldn't mind, because it would make her more interesting. It would make her more of a character again. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. This was very, very, very on a whim. Honestly, I was just ranting to myself about Amy, and I was like, this would make for a cool video. And so I pulled up my phone and I recorded it. I'm not even recording this on my on my microphone. It's just my phone. So if the audio sounds awful and my laptop is whirring in the background, that is why. I also didn't script any of this. It's all from the dome piece. So hopefully it didn't sound too awful to listen to. But I'm just very passionate about Sonic writing, it seems. specifically about Amy, who I didn't think I was that passionate about until I started thinking about it a little more and was like, oh my god, yeah, I have things to say. I hope you didn't mind the shadow tangent either. I actually want to make a whole video about how I think shadow is very misunderstood. There's also really good videos by people I'm forgetting at the moment, but I will link theirs down below because I think it's genuinely very well done. I think that shadow is misunderstood by mainstream public and also some Sonic fans themselves, although the best thing about writing is having your own little interpretation. So I'd like to give my 2 cents without dunking on anyone too much. Anyway, I really like Sonic, if you couldn't tell. I'm really passionate about the series, and I've been following it a little bit as I've grown up, but I've recently been really into it. So anyway, if you like what I do and you want to see more, go ahead and follow my Patreon and subscribe. Bye. I hope you didn't mind the shadow tension. I hope you didn't mind the shadow I hope you didn't mind the but I feel like for certain characters, Sonic Prime really... What's the word I want to use here? Blue life? That's not the... I don't want to think about Sonic the Hedgehog characters being blown.